hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
How are you
everybody.
doing?
Good evening.
Well, welcome to the very first Google Hangout for No More Shame November.
Yay!
And yay, the crowd goes wild. So I'm Athena Moberg, and for those of you who are not familiar with our broadcast, this is Bobby Parrish, and we are trauma recovery coaches, and we love to talk to survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So this broadcast tonight is specifically going to be talking about narcissistic parents and how they play a role in the lives of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse and the role they played when you were a child, whether it was them being an abuser or someone who enabled the abuse. So, Bobby, I think you have something special to show everyone in honor of No More Shame November.
Yes, I would like to share with everyone. Athena, in all her talentedness, made this awesome button that you can share. Can you see it, Athena?
I can. It looks awesome.
Okay. It is on our website, nomoreshameproject.com, and then you will see multiple tabs up in the top right-hand corner. Click on the one that says Pinnables. So nomoreshameproject.com pinnables, and you'll see it right there. Just right click, steal it. You can make it your Twitter avatar, your Facebook avatar. You can post it as a picture on Facebook. Whatever it is that you want to do to share that, we would love that. Just to raise awareness of childhood sexual abuse and everything that survivors go through and they are now and what their recovery entails. And I know it's hard to ask people to do it for the whole month, but we would especially love it if you would do that on November 17th, which is the day that the first anthology for survivor stories comes out, published by the No More Shame Project. And so to honor that and to kind of celebrate that, we'd love it if you could use that avatar on that day. And that's so much fun to see them start popping up.
I know. I was noticing them all over yesterday. I wanted to share something with everybody really quick before we transition into our welcomes and to all of our different listeners and subscribers. So there is a tab on our website, which is nomoreshameproject.com, and the tab says No More Shame November. And if you hover your mouse or click on No More Shame November, there is a little tab there that says Grab Our Button. And you can literally click on that. It says Grab Our Button. And there is code for you to paste in the widget section of your WordPress site. Or if you do just a tiny little tweak, if you're on a blogger site, you can actually put it on your blogger site as well. So again, nomoreshameproject.com, little tab at the top says No More Shame November. Our hashtag that's been registered, in case you're wondering, is hashtag NMSN14, which stands for hashtag No More Shame November 2014. So you will see a lot of those popping up. Oh, what'd you say, Bobby?
I was going to say, not to be confused with next year's No More Shame November, and the year after that, and the year after that.
Correct, yeah. So we're just super excited. If you're just tuning in, I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish, and we are trauma recovery coaches, and we focus on adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I specifically want to do a very, very special welcome to anyone who is listening in on a podcast. This is actually a video that we are recording, and you are listening to the audio. So you're going to hear us talking with our hands and referring to slides. And what I would love for you to do, if you get an opportunity, as a thank you for being one of our loyal subscribers or just one of our loyal listeners or amazing survivors, we have every single week, we have a one-page PDF downloadable resource that is complimentary, and it always matches up with the topic that we are discussing each and every week. So if you go to nomoreshameproject.com, there will be a button at the top, a little tab, and it will say Downloadables. If you click on the little button that says Downloadables, you will get immediate access to not only this week's complimentary downloadable PDF resource that matches up with this week's topic, which is narcissistic parents, but you will have access to our entire library of PDF downloads, and that's just complimentary as a thank you to you for being one of our amazing survivors or loyal listeners, watchers, or subscribers. And last housekeeping item, I believe, besides shouting out to everyone that's listening in the UK right now, because it is 2 or 3 in the morning on a Thursday. So you guys are rock stars. We love you every week. And but I just wanted to just really quickly plug our YouTube channel. We don't have one of those fancy names like youtube.com/No More Shame Project. Like, we haven't really gotten that fancy yet. But what you can do is search for hashtag No More Shame, or even hashtag NMSN14, which is our registered hashtag for No More Shame November, and you'll see our entire video library of amazing hour-long videos that are educational. And our desire is always for this to be the most educational hour of your week, where you get the support you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to the amazing Bobby Parrish, and we will dig right into content. We just really wanted to welcome you if you are listening in from iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or iHeartRadio, or if you've somehow tuned into us like years down the road and you happen to be trying to find us, you can always find us at nomoreshameproject.com. Take it away, Bobby.
We wanted to do a special, this might seem like a very specific topic, but we wanted to do a whole hour long on this, because as we work with more and more survivors, we find that more and more survivors have at least one parent that is narcissistic. And that parent can wreak such havoc in the life of a child. And I find that's especially true with narcissistic mothers and their daughters. So it very frequently happens that an abused child, whether it's sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, or neglect, they often have at least one narcissistic parent. It's hard to have two narcissistic parents. Athena and I were talking about this earlier today, because a narcissistic person is very volatile and they create a lot of chaos. And so when you put two of them together, it's like, you know, putting together a hurricane and a tornado. Isn't it that the Eminem and Rihanna song? And they just clash with each other so badly that they don't stay together very long. So usually you've got one, and it can be devastating to the way that a child develops and their life. So we wanted to focus on this to help you understand what causes narcissism, help you identify, do you have a narcissistic parent? How did that affect you? And what can you do now about it?
Hey, Bobby, while you're bringing up that downloadable resource, you're getting ready to bring that up, what I'd like to do is I wanted to address a topic sort of preemptively while we're digging into this topic of narcissism. And I would like to, I know that the word narcissistic or narcissism is sort of thrown around a lot, like in different communities or certain social circles. And what people use it as is sort of like a weapon to tell somebody that they're kind of conceited or stuck up or whatever, they're stuck on themselves.
Right.
But I really want to make sure that the people listening right now, if you're a survivor or you're a loved one of a survivor, and you happen to think that using the word narcissistic or narcissism is something like telling someone that they are egotistical or what have you, that is specifically not what we are talking about. What we're referring to is actually it is a personality disorder. It is something that is ingrained into a person, and they actually take on these character traits by the time they are between 5 years old and younger, and they have developed a full-blown personality disorder called narcissistic personality disorder, or we're talking about parents that have personality traits of someone who is narcissistic. So this isn't just a buzzword that we're using to punish people that weren't nice to us. This is actually a clinical name that is known in the mental health community, and that it is an actual personality disorder, like borderline personality disorder. You've heard of schizophrenia, you've heard of bipolar, you've heard of different words that describe people's personality. That's specifically what we're talking about. We're not just talking about people who are mean or stuck on themselves. I just wanted to make sure
Right.
everybody knew that that's what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
We're not talking about someone who, in a moment or two every week, appears to be kind of selfish. For someone to have narcissistic personality disorder, we're talking about, like Athena said, someone that this is heavily ingrained in their personality. This is the way they function 24/7. They don't know a different way. They don't know a better way. They typically don't want help in changing, but if they were to get help to try and change, it would require long-term significant therapy, because you're talking about restructuring someone's personality, and that is hard. The brain is plastic, but that requires a lot of plasticity.
Yes,
So,
and this particular, um, what we're not referring to parents of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse as being narcissistic, as saying that they strategically plan to do things on purpose to people. They don't know that they have this personality disorder. They don't know that this is even something that is a thing or a problem, because it's just not how their brain works. Their brain doesn't
right.
really have the forethought, or that, like Bobby was just saying, plasticity to even conceptualize the fact that this could be a thing that could be changed, because they're part of a narcissistic personality disorder is actually thinking that the way that you do things is just like the only way things should ever be done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's an aggrandizement that actually makes the personality disorder self-reinforcing. And like I said, it's very hard to convince someone with narcissistic personality disorder that they need help. And when you do, more often it's because they have blown their life to bits with their narcissism. And they are just at their wits' end because everything has fallen apart in their hands. Now, we are giving out bonus points tonight for everyone who can pronounce narcissism and spell it correctly. It
I have a
took me
hard time. I'm really grateful for spell check.
I know. It took me a while in typing up the text for this. I got it down, but I got the little, red outline flashing at me. Bing, 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 you're spelling it wrong, you're spelling it wrong. Um, and just kind of as an interesting note, that narcissism, that word comes from the myth about the young man named Narcissus. Have you heard this, Athena?
I have. My name is Greek, and I often
Yes.
get asked, "Oh, Athena, what a beautiful name. Are you Greek?" Okay, here I am in all of my blonde hair and my green eyes. It's like, really? Yeah, no, I am familiar with the mythological character Narcissus.
Yes, and he thought he was all that in a bag of chips, as they say, and he saw his reflection in the water, and he was very upset that there might be someone as beautiful as he, and he jumped into the water to defeat this person and ended up drowning. So his narcissism was his own undoing, which is often the case. Okay.
I I wanted to ask a question just before we dive
Sure.
into the one page. If you're just tuning in, we are getting ready to dive into content regarding survivors and narcissistic parents. And as a thank you for being a listener or a watcher or a subscriber, you have a complimentary downloadable resource at nomoreshameproject.com. And there's a little tab at the top that says downloadables. You'll get instant access to this worksheet, which is a one-page resource, as well as our entire library. That's just our gift to you. Bobby, what I wanted to ask you super
Uh-huh.
duper quick, you said something a few moments ago that sort of hit me. It sort of pinged me a little bit and like turned on a light bulb. So you were saying that oftentimes parents or people that have narcissistic personality disorder or narcissistic traits, they oftentimes do not know that they need help, and when they finally realize they do or decide to reach out for help, it is because their entire life has come
Yes.
crumbling down around them, or it has been
Yes.
blown to bits, so you say. And
Right.
I have known that to be very true with the narcissistic people that I am in contact with.
Right. They have utterly destroyed their lives, their careers, their relationships with their narcissistic behavior, and they can't figure out what happened. They don't come into the doctor or the psychologist's office or therapist's office and say, "Hi, I'm a narcissist and I need help." They'll come in and say, I don't know why people don't listen to me. I have all the answers. I need you to help me figure out how to convince others." Yeah, I'm also a marriage therapist, and this is the kind of person who will come into a couples counseling session and say, would you please talk to my wife, or would you please talk to my husband and explain to him why he's wrong? And of course, that rarely works very well in marriage counseling, but
Hey,
that's what
Bobby,
we would hear.
would you page up just a little bit on the one page so that we can see the very top, not the part with the title, but it's just hard. Oh, not that far, but I just couldn't read the first couple sentences.
Sorry.
That's all.
How's
no,
that?
that's okay. That's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about this. Like we said, it's usually have at least one now, this is not the case in every situation, especially when your abuser was not in your family or was not closely related to your family. So if you were abused by, say, a babysitter, a coach, you do not find this as frequently. Most often you will see this when one of your abusers is in the family of origin. And then your abuser can be the narcissist, or they can be one of your parents who, by virtue of them being so wrapped up in themselves, or by virtue of their lack of empathy, or their just general, I don't care what happens to you, they allow the abuse to happen. Or, as we'll look at here in a minute, narcissists are good at creating chaos. So they create so much chaos that they're in their own little whirlwind, and they don't even begin to see that their child is being abused right underneath their eyes. So let's look at, these are the qualities of a narcissist. And the first one is a powerful need for admiration or praise. And when we say powerful need, we mean a powerful need. They will seek this out. This is their food. They can't thrive, they can't survive unless they're constantly being fed praise and admiration. It's like they have a black hole inside them that can never possibly fill up. And to be honest, it can't. It's not like they have a point where they go, okay, I got enough praise. I'm good. I don't need any more. Nope. You can praise them 24/7 and they still don't feel full. They still want more. A tendency to make up grand fantasies about how wonderful they are and how incredible their life is. Athena, you and I have talked about this one before with your experience. And I know you have some experience with this one, and I want you to share it because it makes it very relatable.
Okay. Well, the way that I can relate to this is I have a family member that actually was not my sexual abuser, but enabled my abuse. And whenever I would sort of start putting pieces together or ask questions about something that helped me put pieces together, or whenever things were just cruising along very, very, very calmly, or I started feeling a little bit like I was starting to see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel regarding my life not being chaotic, or starting to put pieces together about my abuse or what have you, this person would almost interrupt me, not only with a need to be praised and so on and so forth, which is so true, but
Yes.
they would interrupt me with, don't you remember the time
Yeah.
that we would go to the beach together, we went
Yes.
here together, we ate at
Right.
this restaurant together, we did these things together, do you remember that outfit you wore, don't you remember how nice that was, do you remember this, and it was
Yes.
almost like they had manufactured and created this entire world
Yes.
of memories that were not the memories that I had. Because the memories I had, I actually had to sit this person down 15 years ago, which this is actually a gift. If you're listening in and you don't think that there is any type of a gift in the abuse that you experienced, I'm here to tell you that I have completely transformed my entire life because of the abuse I incurred, and this moment in time that I'm about ready to share with you as a part of this whole manufactured story and fairy tale that my life was, which really wasn't true. It was just a diversion. This actually catapulted me into studying personal and professional development
Yeah.
with every waking hour of my life. This became my passion because of this moment. So I had to sit my family member down and I had to say, listen, and I had just had a breast biopsy and they thought that I had cancer. That was not the case. I did not have cancer. I actually just needed to tell them that the manufactured story that they had been telling me was not true. So I had to sit this person down, hand them a box of Kleenex and say, this is not about you. This is about me. And what I need to tell you is all these stories you've been telling me for all these years, they might be true partially, but the real truth is underlying underneath the layers underneath the layers. And I remember all of it. I don't just remember the pretty little parts that you want to sprinkle on top like fairy dust. I remember the deep stuff. I remember really horrific things. I remember torture. I remember abuse. I remember being used as a yard worker, being forced to be out in the sun with no food. I remember throwing up because the food was spoiled. I remember not having proper care or not being taught how to groom or bathe or like anything that was just your basic need for food, shelter, love, affection, and water. I mean, like I had to literally spell this out to this person, like, no, what you have fabricated, this little imaginary
Fantasyland.
fantasy land, like the Truman Show, this little Truman Show world, which this is probably before the Truman Show movie ever even like came out or whatever. But what I'm saying is I had to tell this person, no, no, no. I realize you are painting this picture, but that is not the real picture. That's just the glaze on top of what's really real. And the response that this person gave me will really drive the point home to you on what what narcissistic personality can do to someone. Their response was not, I'm sorry. Their response was not, let's talk about this. Their response was, well, I certainly hope you're having this conversation with somebody else also because they were involved with it. That was the response.
Yeah.
And so I had to then say, when I have this discussion with these other people, that will be a discussion I have with these other people. This is about me and you. That's who this is about. And I have to tell you that it took a lot of courage for me to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
And I'm not patting myself on the back and hurting myself by saying I'm so great, but what I'm telling you right now is that I was terrified. That was the scariest moment of my life, worse than any abuse that I incurred, because it was real and it was now, and it took a lot of courage to stand up to that person. And it didn't go well. We literally didn't speak for weeks and weeks and weeks. They would not speak to me. They wouldn't answer my calls. I was incommunicado. There was no talking. There was no communicating.
You were shunned
at all. I was completely shunned, and that's okay because it was probably very painful. However, this person did end up coming back around and ended up saying, I have to just commend you. You're so amazing. It took so much courage for you to tell me these words. I wish that I could be just like you. I want to be just like you. And they turned it all around on me. Yeah. But that moment in time, when I got to stand up to that person and say, no, 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 no. Your imaginary fantasy land is not the real real. The real real is other stuff that could have happened in. But that freed me, you guys, is what I'm trying to say, is it freed me. I bought every self-help book. I started reading my Bible. I was going to counseling for the first time in my entire life and realizing that things that were going on in my life right now actually had to do with like back then, like when I was younger, which I had no clue that could even like be the case. I learned what the word codependency meant. I started studying the human brain and how trauma affects the brain and how it shows up in our daily lives professionally and personally in our interpersonal relationships. And that was a turning point in me mothering my son in a way that was proactively healthy, so that I was positive that I would not continue to perpetuate the cycle of unhealthiness, dysfunction, and abuse. So this moment in time when I got to say, no, you, narcissistic person in my life that enabled all of this horrible stuff to happen to me, no, your world is not true. I am here to tell you that I remember it all, and on top of all of that, I forgive you. I forgive you because I care about my health more than I care about what happened. And I want to be healthy now, and I want to have a relationship with you now, and I want to move past this and move forward, and I want to devote my life in a different direction to helping other people understand this. So good can come out of bad, even if you had narcissistic family members, and I am living proof of that. And I'm going to turn this back over to Bobby because I feel like I'm completely like hijacking the entire Google Hangout. But thank you for asking me to share because that is very real, you guys. And if you
It
have
is.
just tweet
It
me or
is,
email me or
and
something, and
it
I'll tell you.
happens very often when we go to disclose our abuse, and a family looks at us like, we've grown two horns and, a tail, and go, but that's not the way it was. We had a perfect family. Everything was wonderful. What's the matter with you? Oh, sure, there may have been a moment or two that weren't very pretty. And it can take you aback. And you have to realize that for people who are narcissistic, they don't truly see that ugliness. Their world looks the way it looks inside their head. And so when you do come to disclose them, to confront them, they are truly puzzled when they behave like they're puzzled. Um, they have the most wonderful worlds inside their head. I want a nice world inside my head.
No, you don't. You want to live in the real world and help people. I know you.
Okay, this next one is a hard one, but boy, is this a key characteristic of narcissism. This is also a key characteristic of sociopathy and psychopathy. Okay, so narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, all three are they are the most dangerous predators out there because they have no empathy, zero capacity to empathize with other people. So if you're being hurt, if you're being abused, and you're literally sitting in front of them, black eye, hair, chunks of your hair torn out, they'll just kind of look at you and go, what happened to you? You
Or
don't look good.
they'll say something like, "Why don't you wipe that look off your face before I give you something to cry about?"
Right. Or go fix your hair. What's the matter with you? You're
Yeah.
embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing me. Go brush your hair. What did you do to
Right.
your hair?
Exactly. It's it's interesting. We were talking last night in chat, and this is an interesting thing to bring up because we had a lot of people last night in chat who wanted to know if they had narcissistic personality disorder or they had narcissistic personality traits because we were so used to being as children, we were told time and time again that our desire to be cared for, to be nurtured, to be looked after was selfish. Um, and our chat last night was the one that has affected me personally the most of any that we've had because it helped me put puzzle pieces together. And when people talked about how they were told they were selfish if they expressed an emotional or a physical need as a child, that really resonated with me. And I too, I'm very conscious of not wanting to be selfish, of not expressing a need or a want, because that's wrong. Um, and so people did. They wanted to know, do I have narcissistic personality disorder? And like Athena mentioned earlier, our personalities generally form, they're set between 5 and 6 years old. And so if you do not have a narcissistic personality disorder by the time you're an adult, you're not going to have it. Could you have some narcissistic personality traits? Perhaps. But I am willing to bet that you would know that because someone would have clearly told you. You would have unhealthy relationships. People would constantly tell you you're arrogant, you're selfish, you never think of anyone but you. Why can't you understand that this is hurtful, harmful to someone else? I would venture to bet that if you had narcissistic personality traits, someone would have stood in front of you and let you know long before the age that you are now. What do you think, Athena? Does that kind of address that concern that people voiced last night?
Oh no, it definitely, definitely does. We had several people last night It was really great to see light bulbs coming on, and I believe one of our people in, if you're wondering what chat we're talking about,
Yes.
back in January 2014, several months back, our very dear friend Rachel Thompson and our very own Bobby Parrish started what's called sex abuse chat. And so you do the hashtag or the pound sign tic-tac-toe, and you type in sex abuse chat. You could Google it if you want to. It'll just take you to Twitter. Or if you're already in Twitter, you just type that in and you just look through the hashtag and look through all the messages. And every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, or I believe it's 2 a.m. on Thursday in the UK,
Right.
you can actually follow along with all the things we're talking about here. We usually do a recap on Wednesdays and talk about chat a lot. But last night there was one comment that really just stood out to me and really just made the entire evening was so beautiful. And it was one of the newer gals that's there. Her name's Pepper. And she said, "Can you hear the sound of the chains coming off of me right now?" She was just being completely set free. And my response was, "I can hear the sound of captives being set free." Because it was a light bulb moment for her where she actually heard the words she needed to hear, that all of the things that happened to her were not her fault.
Yep.
That she wasn't the selfish one. She wasn't. Yes. She had described her mother used to tell her when she was growing up, you daughter, you're the girl in high school I hated. Your personality is the girl in high school that I hated. That's who you are. And so this gal was just sharing like, wow, this isn't just me. I understand. There's a name for this. Other people have experienced this. And, you know, I recently had to have a conversation with my family member that is a narcissistic personality traits. And I had to share with them, I need to limit communication with you right now because I'm at a point in my recovery. Bobby and I are still recovering along with everyone else, and it's a slow process, and we've not arrived. We're here to tell you that we're walking alongside you. That's why we're called coaches. We're mentors. We're living, breathing proof that there is life after being curled up in a little ball in the fetal position, rocking yourself and wanting to self-harm and die. Like, we're fully functioning and going through recovery. So I had to tell this family member of mine that the words they use when they talk really shred me. They really rip me down and tear me down. And that I needed to limit contact with them in order to have a healthy life. And that was a very hard thing for me to do because a lot of survivors, myself included, really struggle with people-pleaseritis. That's what I call it, people-pleaseritis. People-pleaser mentality. Your role in the entire family was to keep everyone together or be as perfect as possible. You need to be perfect and good, especially if you had that narcissistic parent always telling you that you weren't enough, or you were selfish for wanting food, or you were selfish for not wanting to be beaten or hit or treated poorly. You know, you're very, like, you just want to please them so that hopefully it will be enough, and it's never, ever, 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 ever enough. And so just hearing that last night, Bobby, hearing her say, "Can you hear the sounds of those chains coming off of me?" I just get like teary-eyed right now even thinking about it, because it is so true. When you're at that point in your recovery, when you're like making all this progress, and then something just clicks.
The puzzle pieces set into place, and you realize, oh my goodness, it wasn't about me. And I think that's one of the most incredible pieces of recovery that I love to watch survivors put together, is that realization that they were not abused because of anything they did. That it was about their abuser. It was their abuser's issue. Their abuser is fully and completely responsible for having done what they did. And whoever facilitated or enabled the abuse, that all belongs on them. There is nothing that child could have done short of, somehow, running away, which of course, small children, they can't do that because they don't know how to care for themselves.
Oh, but we fantasized about it. At least I did. I had my little thing packed, my little pillowcase on my stick. I used to pretend that I was going to run away with the pillowcase on the stick like the kids in the cartoon.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's keep going. This I think you can tell this is a huge topic for us, and we might have to come back to it again. But wow. Okay, more about a narcissist. They have a belief that they are the most important person in the life of anyone who knows them or encounters them. So they're the most important person in the family of the life. If they go to the grocery store, they're the most important person in the grocery store. They will cut in front of other people in line. They will treat people badly, whatever it takes, because they are the most important person. And they will command that attention. They have a large ego that leaves others thinking they are arrogant and selfish. They have a snobbish or condescending attitude towards others. And this is a hard one, I think, especially for children, because condescension is a tiny bit of a complex behavior. And the intention versus the tone of voice, all of that is a little hard for a child to decipher. Their cognitive abilities aren't quite there. And so when you're condescending to a child, it's very confusing. And
It is because they think you're being nice to them, like,
exactly.
oh, oh, is that what you need? Let me help you with that.
Yes,
And they think you're being nice, but you're really
right.
not.
Right. And Athena and I have talked about this a lot because I think at some time we need to do a hangout on abuser tricks and tactics because this is a common one. Um, oh, do you want this? Do you want to come here? Do you want to get this? I have this for you. And then you come close enough and smack. They'll whop you upside the head. It's that, come here, I want to be nice, I want to love you, come. And of course, what child's not going to come? And then as soon as you get within arm's reach, whack, upside the head. Because that's all they were trying to do, was to lure you into being harmed.
Or even not always whap upside the head. It could be, get into my car, or it could be, let's go back here, or it
Right.
could be,
Yes.
listen, if you tell, I will hurt your family members. Here you go. Here's what you wanted. Go along with that little information. So they
Yeah.
use that condescension, that voice of like,
Right.
I wrote a piece recently that was published on the Flounce, and it was about domestic violence and my recounting domestic violence that I witnessed when I was younger. And I describe this that Bobby and I are talking about right now as though a switch is magically flipped, because they'll be talking normal and then out of nowhere, click. Oh, okay. And they're instantly calm, and it's that condescending tone. And you literally, when you're a child, can't possibly think that that tone could mean something bad because it's a nice tone. And like Bobby said,
Right.
it's very complex. It's a very complex personality trait, or like a tactic that a
Right.
child, there's no way, like, that's why scary movies are scary movies when they talk about, like, when they have like childlike themes or clowns or whatever. Because when you're a child, a clown is sweet and funny and nice, and they have a red rubber nose and it's whatever, whatever. And then there's like horror movies about stuff like this, because they flip it like a switch. Like, what you thought was good is really evil.
Yeah.
And it can be really traumatizing to where it will like trigger you for years
Right.
unless
And
you work
then
through it.
Right. And then from every point thereon, once you get a little older and that groove has been set in your brain, from that point on, anytime someone speaks to you in a condescending tone, you gird yourself because you know that as a child you were taught that with that tone of voice, with that condescension, comes harm. And so, condescension is not a nice thing, but it doesn't always mean someone is going to harm you. So it's okay to be for your senses to be alerted when someone uses a condescending tone of voice. But to get completely battle ready, we need to learn how to step that reaction down just a bit because it's exhausting.
It is, and I think it's worth mentioning, as you're switching back over to the one page, I think it's worth mentioning that Being girded and prepared for someone and dealing with a condescending tone or someone that is having some sort of a tactic like that, there's a difference between feeling that way and prepared and being hyper vigilant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And hypervigilance, whoa, that is an exhausting thing. Exhausting. The next one on our list is a large sense of entitlement. You owe me. I deserve this. You ruined my night by doing that, and I deserve to have this, that, and the other thing. Images in my head come to, a parent wanting to watch something on television, and a child somehow makes a noise or interrupts. I deserve this time. I'm entitled to it. Smack, go away. But very much.
If they come down ill, like if a child somehow comes down sick, as if they wanted to be sick or something.
Right. Yes. And this is another big one. This next one, I think. This, along with that no empathy and the large ego, this is another key trait. A tendency to create and attract chaos wherever they go. And the reason for that one, and I want to turn the screen share off here for a minute because this is an important one to talk about. The narcissist has to be the center of attention. They just have to, because that's what they need to fill that black hole inside them that's endless and bottomless. When that center of attention is not on them, they will do what's necessary to bring the center of attention back to them. And they ideally would like positive attention, but they'll take negative attention if that's what's needed. And we were talking earlier today about, say for example, there's a birthday party, and it's, I'm the child, it's my birthday party. The narcissistic parent is not going to like the attention to be on me. So if that's what's happening, he or she is going to act out. They're going to try, first of all, probably to get some positive reinforcement. Hey, let me tell you all what I did at work this week. Let me tell you about the awesome things I did. And if that doesn't work, then they're going to create chaos. They're going to drop a casserole dish. They're going to accidentally fall down. They're going to accidentally cut themselves. They're going to do whatever they need to create chaos to attract attention away from that birthday person. And
I have a question.
Yes, yes, yes.
I love it when you do stories like this because it always sparks a memory for me. I remember I was never allowed to attend birthday parties when I was a child. I was rarely ever allowed to attend any type of activities like that. And I remember I was never allowed to have a birthday party. And the one time I did have a birthday party, I believe I was 14, and it ended up being a complete fiasco. Like, we all ended up having to leave my house because there was a fight going on at my house, and it ended up with just some very inappropriate things going on. And I had people that were not even allowed to attend my party because they kind of knew that my house was that house.
Right.
So,
that house.
Yeah. So the light bulb just came on for me when you said that.
Yeah.
And I also had, you and I were sharing off the air, I had a very big day. Over the past few years, I had a very, very, very big day that was supposed to be my day, And I had family members that were there that incidentally do have narcissistic personality traits, and they made sure that even though it was my wedding day, that the attention was on them in photographs, in interactions throughout the day. Like, it was just all about them.
Right.
And it was really painful for me. And it happened to me on my birthday several times here as well. That person always wanted to make sure that there was some sort of chaos or some sort of thing that happened that made it all about them on my birthday.
Right.
It was all about them on my birthday, and it could never be about the fact that it was just my birthday. And I just wanted to have a barbecue or go to the beach and hang out and do nothing or whatever.
Right. And it's so interesting for us as survivors because I think, and we talked about this last night in chat, narcissism is an extreme. It's a personality extreme. As survivors, we tend to go whoop to the other end. I can tell you, I don't like attention. I would rather not have it. But if I have to have it, I want it because I did something good. I would rather crawl under my bed and live there for 2 months than have attention for something that I did that wasn't right. But a narcissist, they don't care. They would prefer attention because they did something in their eyes that's good. Although some of us, sometimes wonder about whether that's good. But if they're going to get attention, they will take negative attention over no attention any day. And it's hard for us to understand that because as survivors, we're used to trying to be invisible. We never want to call attention to ourselves, especially negative attention, because often that meant that we got hit or beat or abused.
Yeah.
And so the dichotomy, it really is a dichotomy, and it's hard for us as survivors to understand that narcissism, but it's important because, like Pepper was saying last night in chat, now she gets it. And she understands it wasn't about her. It was about this parent that had this disorder who wouldn't have any responsibility for trying to fix it.
While you bring up the one page, Bobby, I'm going to step away from our chat for just a moment. My computer, for some reason, is acting a little funny. So go ahead and take it away and go back to our one page, and I will just be right back in a moment.
Okay. The next tendency that you'll see is a lot of envy. And you won't actually hear them say, I'm jealous of so-and-so, I'm envious of so-and-so, but you'll see it in their behavior. And it's oftentimes that one-upsmanship that you will see. And by that I mean the Joneses got a new barbecue grill. Isn't it nice? And then that person, the narcissist has to go out and they have to buy a barbecue grill that is a step higher. Their employee at work got the latest iPhone. They have to go out and buy the next level. It has to be tricked out, customized, has to be better than everyone else's because they're entitled, because they're important, and they're worth it. And the last one, oh gosh, again, key tendency here is a tendency to their own gain. And this is something that we see a lot within abusive families. The parent, the narcissistic parent, will use their children for their own gain. And whether that means that they will use the child to go out and get something. They'll use the child to run drugs. They'll use the child to go out and earn money. The child will come home from school with, and sometimes they send children who are in lower income families home with backpacks full of food for the weekend. They'll take the child's food. The child gets nothing.
Oh gosh, Bobby, I feel like I missed something super key because you're talking about something I have experience with. What did I miss? Give me the Reader's Digest abbreviated version.
We're talking about the tendency to exploit others for their own gain.
Oh, wow.
And I know that I talked before in chat about within my family situation, with my family of origin, one of my parents didn't really enjoy all that much interacting with each other. So it's like one of my parents gave me to my other parent who abused me in order for them not have to deal with that parent. So it was kind of like an exchange. Here, take her, do whatever you want with her, just leave me alone. And it didn't faze them. They had no empathy, they had no problem with it. It was fine. It was a trade. And in that way, that parent of mine could go on about their life and do what they wanted to do without the inconvenience of having to interact with my other parent. And with, no empathy, no understanding. Did you get your problem solved, ma'am?
I did, yeah. For some reason, the battery on my, I have a MacBook Pro, and my battery was doing really, really good, but for some reason it just drained super duper fast. And
Okay.
I really wanted to be mindful, and I didn't want the broadcast to stop in the middle of our teaching. So yeah, I definitely wanted to just comment really quick. I know we have 10 minutes left of our teaching tonight
Yeah.
on this broadcast, and on the topic of narcissistic parents having the capacity to exploit their children for their own gain and not really have any type of remorse or empathy about that. I know I've been going through some really intense, deep counseling lately, and I've been having some really specific memories about a family member of mine who actually um, sort of brought me along and sort of prettied me up and dressed me up, so to speak, so that I would catch the eye of someone who was much, much older, like about twice my age, in order.
And you were a child, right?
I was a child. I believe if my memory serves me correctly, because I specifically remember the outfit I was wearing, because
Uh-huh.
I didn't even know why I received that outfit. I was so excited to receive this outfit. It was so cute. It was like this olive green sort of one piece little like culotte thing with like a little bow, and it was just had black polka dots, and it was just I just felt so pretty.
Yeah.
Um, but I incidentally got taken on what I thought was going to be like really awesome, kind of like one-on-one time, like, ooh, I get to go to the salon, or I get to go get prettied up. I was just like, wow, this is what real little girls get to do. I
Yes.
kind of thought it was like a turning of the corner, but again,
Right.
it's that, come here, come closer, whap, right? It's like that
Exactly.
sort of a deal. So what I didn't realize at the time, and I had sort of not wanted to really focus on this memory, it was really painful for me to think about, but I was actually being prettied up and dressed up in order to be exploited and to be sort of lent out or traded.
Traded.
And
Traded.
I know that that sounds a little hard to grasp, and for those of you who are listening, you're kind of like, really? Are you kidding me? You know, but I'm here to tell you that truth is often more crazy than fiction. And I specifically remember the gentleman's name that I got sent out on a date with, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes if you're listening
Right.
in on a podcast. And his name was Nicky, and he was twice my age. I believe I was 14 or 15 years old. And I was brought along to hang out in this place in order to like sort of like earn the favor of these business owners, so that my narcissistic family member could receive like complimentary services or favored treatment or popularity, or could be looked upon with favor because I was so pretty. And to know that I was sort of dressed up like a little doll and like, here, look at her. Isn't she pretty? She belongs to me. Wouldn't you like to borrow her?
Yes.
That was really painful for me to understand and for me to grasp and for me to believe, to the point where, I mean, I don't know what day you're listening to this broadcast or watching in, or if you're live. I know we have some viewers right now on watching live right now. I have to tell you that to really grasp the fact that you were like dressed up and traded out and sort of like pimped, if you will,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really painful.
It is.
And to look at the amount of self-loathing and disgust that was going through me, I wasn't able, when I was having these memories and going through this deep healing and counseling regarding this topic, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sit on the couch, I couldn't work, I couldn't function. I had plans to go out with one of my girlfriends, Claudia, and meet up with her and have like a girls' evening. I had to cancel on her. I was literally a complete and total wreck. And the only way I could describe it to my husband, bless his heart, because he's walking through this recovery with me, the only way I could describe it to him through all of my sobbing and weeping and just self-loathing and whatever, I told him that I wish that I could shower for a week because I just felt so disgusting. And I was certain, 100% certain, that if he really knew to the degree in which I had been tainted that he just
There
wouldn't
you
love
go.
me, that he
Yeah.
wouldn't love me anymore. And he just grabbed my face and he just looked like he was going to cry right along with me. And he said, "That's just not true.
Yeah.
I love you no matter what, and that is not true. So that's a lie, and I need you to know I love you, and that this is the past, and this was done to you. You are not the abuse that happened to you. You are not um, here with me to be exploited and lent out to others in return for services or to make me look good. You're not a trophy wife. You're my beloved, and I'm here for you, and you're safe now." And so those are words that I really needed to hear to heal, because I'm here to tell you, men, women, whoever you are, if you have ever been traded for services or lent out or dressed up and sort of exploited by your family members, and you know what that pain feels like, can you please just reach out to me? Can you please reach out to Bobby and myself? This is why we're doing trauma recovery. And we have so much more content to go through, but I just needed to share that part of my story with you. This is the very first time I've shared that part of my story publicly, and it will be included in our anthology coming up. I'll be touching on that in our anthology, which is published November 17th. But Bobby, why don't we go back to that one page, and then I really want to leave our listeners and viewers with some practical tips.
Yep.
That will help them deal with, cope with, and deal with, and be equipped to deal with the effects of having a narcissistic parent.
Right. So let's go through these, and I'm going to read the synopsis of each one, because I know there's some people who are listening on podcasts and they can't see what I'm looking at. If you want to see it, go to our website, nomoreshameproject.com. The tab is downloadables. All of our one pages are there. The first tip is to keep healthy boundaries with your narcissistic parent. Athena mentioned just a bit ago that she had to set some boundaries in what kind of ways that her narcissistic parent could communicate with her. I have one parent that I have not spoken to in 20 years because that was necessary for me to have a healthy life. It is okay to set healthy boundaries with a narcissistic parent, absolutely. And this next one we talked about too a little bit in terms of what Pepper was realizing yesterday. Realize that your narcissistic parent's behavior is not about you, but it's about them. So understand that if they had taken another child and taken them from 5 blocks down and plunked them in front of that parent, your parent would have treated that child the same way. It didn't have anything to do with you. Don't expect your narcissistic parent to change, especially if they have full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. It is very ingrained, and like we talked about, it's self-reinforcing. And so the fact that they would even realize that they need help is virtually non-existent. So accept that they're not going to change, and limit your contact, set your boundaries, whatever you need to do to deal with that. And the last one is find alternative sources of validation, acceptance, and approval that your narcissistic parent was unable to give you. We all needed that as children. Some of us didn't get it. It's okay when you're an adult to find healthy ways to still get those things. It's not because, oops, your childhood is done. Sorry, you can't have those things now because the window of opportunity has closed. Nope. You can still go out. You can still seek these things in healthy ways. And Athena and I have touched on things like codependency. So that's not a healthy way to get acceptance and approval. But there are healthy ways, and one of the ways that we really want to encourage you, if you're going through some of these things, to reach out to us, because we have support groups. And within those support groups, we talk about what are ways to communicate with each other, what are ways to establish healthy communication skills, and we provide one another in a safe and supportive setting with the approval, the acceptance, the validation that we all need that we didn't get as children. Let's zip over here and talk about connecting with us.
Yeah.
So really quickly, connect with us on Twitter. I'm at Bobby Parrish at Truth Is Hers. Athena is at Athena Moberg. At Athena Moberg. She's so good. She's got herself perfectly branded. I'm the odd duck out here.
Not for long. Bobby is the trauma recovery coach.
Email. You can get a hold of me at bobbylparish@gmail.com, Athena@athenamoberg.com, and then we have the No More Shame Project at gmail.com. Facebook, we have the No More Shame Project Facebook page, and then websites, we have nomoreshameproject.com, bobbyparish.com, and athenamoberg.com.
Yes. So if you are listening on, thank you, Bobby. If you are listening in from Stitcher or SoundCloud, or I forgot to welcome you if you found us on a Roku device, I just want to welcome you and just tell you that we are absolutely here for you. Like, even though we're going through recovery with you and we love doing this and it's just our passion and we could just do it all day for 8 hours a day, we're here for you. We want to add value to your trauma recovery, and
Exactly.
we want to help you with life skills that were not given to you and nurtured into you, and that were not afforded to you as an opportunity of another child that could have been growing up in a home that was less dysfunctional than yours. There's dysfunction in every family. You're not the only person. However, the level of dysfunction that went on in your family, if you are watching this broadcast or listening in, is probably extraordinary. You probably had high levels of dysfunction or abuse, especially if you incurred sexual abuse. And we're just here to provide value for you and to tell you that you're not alone, and that we have been there, and we want to stand with you and walk alongside you and cheer you on and help you with little things. Like, we were talking off the air today, Bobby. Remember, we were talking and we were like, so is it just survivors that think this way and that struggle with this, or is this like an everybody thing? And we sort of have like our safe people that we go to where we're like, okay, guys, help me with this. I feel this way and think this way. Like, is that just a survivor thing, or is that like everyone? Yeah. And so we can be that springboard, or that, not springboard, we can be that...
we can give you that frame of reference.
Yeah, we can be that frame of reference for you. We can, you can bounce stuff off of us like that. Like, okay, you guys have been around a while. You know what it's like to function out there with skills that have been honed over time, and you're not completely socially inept anymore because you weren't, you've finally been functioning, like, at a highly functioning way, not like you were when you were a child. So if you have struggles or questions or things that you're just struggling with, or you have questions about, Bobby is totally just the most amazing resource. Again, bobbylparish@gmail.com, or just reach out to me. Yeah. It doesn't cost anything. It's totally free. Questions are free. Athena@athenamoberg.com. And we are so excited that you have decided to listen or watch this broadcast. So pick up your free gift. That is our gift to you for being a listener or viewer or loyal subscriber, and that's nomoreshameproject.com. Click on the tab that says downloadables and grab all the free resources that we have to offer. It is just our gift to you. Did I forget anything, Bobby?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right. What's our topic next week, Bobby?
Well, you know what? I think it's about time we talk about boundaries.
Ooh, yes.
Don't you?
Boundaries is one of my favorite topics, because it is all substance and it is all what can I do now. It is very little of about what happened back then, and it's like 90-something% how can I do this now, how can I apply this now, what can I do now, because that's what it's about.
And what's one of those things that can get you immediate good results?
Immediate, like the same day.
Immediate good results, exactly. Oh, yeah. And we sure love those things.
Oh, yeah. Instant gratification. Okay, everybody. Well, I'm Athena Moberg. This is Bobby Parish, and we have just completed tonight's broadcast of No More Shame Wednesdays, or if you're in the UK, it's Thursday. And you can find us at nomoreshameproject.com. Thank you so much.
You bet. Good night, everybody.
Good night.